everyone to this session on Selenium for web automation. So today we are going to understand one of the most powerful tool used in the automation industry, which is Selenium. So before we begin, I want you to imagine you are a tester working in a company. So what does tester do every day? So every day you open the website, you log in into it, fill forms over there, verify some texts, submit buttons, validate data, all of these activities, so on and so forth. And you repeat this again and again, right? Now, doing this manually becomes very boring. It's also time consuming and is error prone. So, this is exactly where Selenium becomes your best buddy. Now, Selenium helps us to automate browser actions because it behaves just like a human user on the browser. But it is much faster, more accurate, and can run anytime without getting tired. Now, you all must be using various different browsers which are available that includes Chrome, Edge, Firefox, right? So all of this browser is supported by Selenium. Okay. So what is Selenium and where exactly is Selenium being used? So, Selenium is an open source automation tool used to automate web browsers. And it's not a single tool, but actually a suite of tools. And each tool serves a different purpose. So, let's understand each of those one by one. Okay. So, first in the list is Selenium IDE. So Selenium IDE is basically a browser plugin which is available for Chrome and Firefox. Now it allows you to record your actions in browser and then replay them. So just think of this like a screen recorder, but instead of recording a video, it records your browser actions and converts them into automation step. So let's say you launch any website in a browser where you have this Selenium IDE plugin and you perform certain operations. So what the Selenium ID will be doing, it will recording all your browser actions and then it will create the automation steps or it creates the automation code for you. Okay, which you can again replay. So it is best for beginners, okay, who are learning automation for the very first time, and it's also good for quick demos or creating simple scripts. But it has some limitations as it cannot handle complex test logic or detailed frameworks. Okay. Now, second in the list is Selenium RC, where RC stands for remote control. Now it's obsolete as of now. So whatever I will be telling you, it's all history right now. But still, sometimes it can be asked in the interview. So let's discuss a few topics around it. So Selenium RC is actually an older technology. Earlier, Selenium needed a separate server to communicate with the browser. So between your scripts and client can be your browser. So in between, a Selenium server was used to communicate between these two ends. So automation scripts had to pass through this RC server, which eventually made it a little bit slow and complicated. So as Selenium RC is considered obsolete and is no longer used, but still it's better to know about it. Okay. Now, third in the list is Selenium WebDriver, and this is the most important one in the Selenium suite. So this is the most powerful and most widely used component of Selenium, I would say. Now, unlike Selenium RC, WebDriver does not require any external server, and hence it directly communicates with the browser. So with this external server not in picture, it provided certain advantages which was not there with Selenium RC. So what were those? Faster execution and more stable. It became more stable. Also, it supports real world automation and has support for multiple language which includes Java, Python, C Sharp and JavaScript, so on and so forth. And it supports all major browsers which are present in the market today. and almost all companies in the world use Selenium WebDriver today, I would say. Okay. Now, fourth in the list is Selenium Grid. Now, Selenium Grid is used when you want to execute multiple tests in parallel, or if you want to run your test on multiple browsers and multiple machines. So, just imagine this scenario where instead of running 100 tests one after another, you can run them on 10 machines at the same time and finish 10 times faster. So those 100 test cases, you can divide it on 10 machines. So 10 can be run on first machine, then another 10 can run on second machine, so on and so forth. So this way, all these tests will run parallel and it will help you to finish 10 times faster. Now, the Selenium grid is extremely useful in large projects where CI/CD environments is involved. Okay. Next, if I talk about the advantages of Selenium, so Selenium, first of all, let me ask you a question: why Selenium became so popular, and why every company prefers Selenium for automation? So, the first benefit is Selenium is an open source, meaning it's completely free and no license cost is associated to it. Okay. Second, Selenium supports multiple browsers. So Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, Opera, you name it and Selenium supports it. Right? Now third, Selenium supports multiple operating system. It can run on Windows, it can run on Mac OS, and it can even run on Linux. If we talk about other advantages of Selenium, so Selenium supports multiple programming language, which we already discussed. So it supports Java, Python, C Sharp, JavaScript, Ruby, and many more. The other advantage is Selenium has a strong community. So if you are stuck anywhere, you will definitely find help online. So there are n number of community supports which is there online. If you're stuck anywhere, definitely you'll be getting help out of it. Okay. And the last is Selenium integrates well with other tools, test frameworks, CI/CD tools, reporting tools, cloud execution platforms, etc. So overall, if I say Selenium is flexible, powerful, free and trusted worldwide. Okay. So these are a few of the advantages of Selenium. Now next comes Selenium WebDriver architecture. So how does Selenium actually works behind the scenes? So we all know that Selenium is used for automating the web browsers, but how it works internally or behind the scenes. So what happens when we write code like driver.get, and inside we provide the parameter as the URL. So how does the browser magically opens Google? So let me explain in a simple way. So there are basically four major things involved. First, your Selenium script, which you write in any kind of ID. For example, let's say you write your Selenium scripts in Eclipse, VS Code, or IntelliJ. So first is your Selenium script. Second, Selenium library, or you can say Selenium WebDriver. Third is browser driver. So let's say if you are running your scripts on Chrome browser, so you would require Chrome driver. Similarly, for Firefox, you would need Gecko driver. And last is the browser itself. So if I talk about the flow, then first your Selenium scripts run, and your script sends command to Selenium WebDriver, which is second in the list, right? Then what happens? WebDriver communicates with the browser driver, for example, Chrome driver, Gecko driver, okay? And finally, the browser driver talks to the actual browser and performs the action. So next time when you see browser opening automatically, you know something is happening behind to make that magic work. And how it works behind the scene, we have discussed. We have discussed just now. Now let's go further and talk about the layers of web application. So before we go deeper, it is very important to understand how a web application is structured, right? So basically web application generally has three layers. So first is the presentation layer. This is the UI layer. So as soon as you launch any website on a browser, the page which you see, so that is called as a presentation layer. And the web page that users see, those are written in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all these languages. Okay. Now, second is the business logic layer, and this is the brain of the application, I would say. It processes logic like login authentication, calculations, validation. And third layer is the database layer, which stores data. Now, all your usernames, orders, transactions live here. So, Selenium only works on the presentation layer, meaning it interacts only with the browser UI. And backend testing like database or API validation is handled using the other tools. So, for automating any UI or the browser UI, Selenium is used, which works only on the presentation layer. Okay. Now, next comes the Selenium 3 architecture. So, Selenium 3 follows something called as the JSON wire protocol. So, if you haven't heard that before, so let me simplify this. So, when you write Selenium code, your script cannot directly talk to the browser. So, Selenium uses a standard communication format called as JSON. Now, here are the components in Selenium 3. First, the Selenium client library. This is the library installed in our project like Selenium for Python or Java. Second is the Selenium WebDriver API. This converts your commands into a standard format. Third is the JSON wire protocol. So this is the translator that converts Selenium commands into JSON and sends them to browser driver. Okay. Next comes the browser driver. So we've talked about it in the previous section. Like you need to, if you're working in any specific browser, you need to have the respective browser driver also. So that can have, like, if you're working with Chrome browser, you have to have Chrome driver. If you're working with Firefox, you need to have Gecko driver, so etc. So these drivers receive these command from JSON via protocol. And fifth, browser, if I talk, then at browser finally executes everything. Okay. So if I talk in a flow, then it happens in this way. First comes the script, then comes the Selenium library, then comes the JSON via protocol, then comes the browser driver, and finally the browser. So this way your Selenium scripts interact with browsers, and in between these are the steps. Okay. So this was all about the Selenium 3 architecture. Now let's talk about Selenium 4 architecture as well. So initially Selenium 3 was there for most of the time. Now Selenium has been upgraded from Selenium 3 to Selenium 4. So what happened in Selenium 4? They have removed JSON via protocol and adopted the official W3C WebDriver standard. So while JSON via protocol was there in Selenium 3, in Selenium 4, they have adopted the official W3C WebDriver standard, meaning now your Selenium script and browser driver speak the same language, and there's no middle translator needed. Unlike in Selenium 3, we had to use JSON via protocol. So now in Selenium 4, it's no longer needed, and this makes Selenium faster, more stable, more reliable, and more accurate. Okay, so what are the advantages of Selenium 4? So if I talk about the advantages of Selenium 4, it has faster execution. Okay, more stable communication is now there with Selenium 4, better browser compatibility, then improved Selenium grid. Okay, better handling of iframes, tabs, windows. and support for Chrome DevTools. And it has also new feature which is the relative locator. And last, improved performance and debugging. So new feature relative locator. So what does that mean? So relative locators allow you to locate elements using words like above, below, near, left of, right of. Okay. So which makes automation easier in many cases, right? Initially in Selenium 3, what we have to do is we have to get the parent, you know, parent tag, or if you have the parent tag, then you need to use following siblings or ancestors and predecessors, all those things. But with this new feature in Selenium 4, which is the relative locator, with that you can locate elements using words like above, below, near, left of, right of, all of those things. Okay, so let's quickly summarize what we have learned today. So we understood about what is Selenium, and we have also discussed about the Selenium suite, which included Selenium ID, Selenium RC, WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. And now why Selenium is the industry standard, that also we have discussed, right? We have also discussed about the Selenium WebDriver architecture. Also, we have seen what are the different layers of web application. And for Selenium 3, we have discussed about its architecture with JSON via protocol. And I've also seen in Selenium 4 architecture that JSON via protocol has now been replaced with W3C protocol. And last, we have seen the advantages of Selenium 4. So from now on, you are not just users of Selenium, you understand what is happening behind the scenes, right? And in the upcoming sessions, we'll start working practically with Selenium WebDriver, and we'll begin automating the real websites. So with that said, I'll conclude this video. And if you have liked this video, please provide a thumbs up, and you can share and comment as well. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much.